Well, hello. I'm Bo Grice. I am the trauma specialist at Wiregrass Angel House, and I wanted to just share a quick video of a recommendation for finding support. I recently did a short video on the importance of support and mentioned the support group that Wiregrass Angel House sponsors each month. But I'd like to mention some more if possible, and you might find one of these. You may be already doing this, but you may find some new ideas with some of the groups I want, or some of the sources I want to mention now. First, and probably the first and foremost source of support would be your family. Now, I know family doesn't always understand, and that might be and the other problem is the family may be going through the same experience you are, and it's hard for people who are hurting to help hurting people. Therefore, you may have to look outside your family for some help. But if there is a family member who seems to be handling the situation well and they are good listeners, they're not fixers, and that's a big distinction there, because sometimes people appear to want to help, but really what they want to do is want to fix. And this is a situation you don't fix. It's something that gradually adjusts over time. But there is no magic wand solution to this. And in my experience has been, when people try to fix others, it never turns out well anyway. So the first place to look is to your family. And if there's someone there who you can confide in. Now, if you're an adult, I recommend not confiding in children or in young people, in teenagers, because they're not equipped emotionally to handle it. So try to find someone your own age or around your own age and confide in them. Second source of support would be a support group, like I mentioned in that previous video. And we do offer one at Wiregrass Angel House so on the third Thursday night of the month. In the fall, we're looking at moving it to the first Thursday night of the month, and that's a little bit easier to keep up with than the third. But we'll be advertising that if it happens. And I want to encourage you to consider it. If you're going through trauma recovery or struggling with grief right now, this group can be very helpful, because everyone in it is either going through it or has been through it. And this isn't a fix-it seminar. This isn't where you're going to come in and we're going to give you 3 easy steps to get over it, as people like to say. But it's a community of support where people who are going through it share their own experience. We do some type of a brief topic that can help. It's not instructional or informational as it is more hopefully offering something that'll help. And we eat a meal together. So support groups can be helpful. There's some in the city that some of the churches sponsor that you can go to. As far as grief groups go, I think we're the only ones who offer for those who are specifically in grief because of trauma. Another source you can turn to is other groups, maybe not support groups, but other types of groups, like your church. Getting involved in a church or a church group can be helpful. Maybe joining some type of a club or some type of informal group. Maybe there's just some people who have a similar background, similar experience, and they've started grouping up. Often that's the case online. And that's one source that sometimes people don't think about, is online communities. So if you go online and do a little searching, you may find a community out there of people who are much like yourself. And being part of this group can be very helpful. Another source of support is education. And there's many educational resources available. Sometimes we call that psychoeducation. And if you'll contact our office and let me know what you're looking for, I'll try to get some of that in your hands, whatever the issue is that is of primary importance to you at the moment. All right, so there's some real quick sources of support. Your family. The next one would be friends who will listen and not try to fix you. A third would be joining other groups such as church or online groups. And then the fourth would be education, psychoeducation, and finding resources that help explain the process. Because often the questions I hear people ask are the same questions. Am I going crazy? Am I doing this right? Questions along those lines. And it's a common question because everybody goes through that. So if if there's a source out there that'll tell you everybody's going through this, then you don't feel like you're alone. And by the way, that's the last thing I just want to touch on. I'll probably do a video on it later. But the big probably temptation when you're going through this, and it's the absolute worst thing you can do, is to isolate yourself. And we want to, because our body feels like we're being threatened by the stress. And when we do that, we want to withdraw. That's just normal and natural. But that's the worst thing you can do when you're struggling getting through grief recovery. So reach out to someone, get that support you so desperately need, and you'll find out in the end that it's worth it. Have a good day.